Hi everyone, I thought this would be a good idea for my next YouTube video. I'm putting in a artificial putting green, and I've seen, obviously there's lots of videos of people installing artificial grass, lots of people installing putting greens, but this putting green I want to be able to hit into, so not from a massive distance, but maybe 50, 60, 70 meters. So there's a couple of things that I'm going to have to do differently. Now, my dad does have an artificial grass company, so that comes in quite handy, and hopefully he's going to give me a hand with this. I did work with him for a couple of years when I left college, so I can do most of it myself, but again, this is something I've never done, so it's going to be interesting and it can be a nice project, and hopefully I can talk people through step by step what to do and how we're doing it, and hopefully we end up with a nice finished product. I have prepared the roadstone base up to now, so I'll just let you know roughly what I've done and I'll show you around as well. Again, like most things, it's all in the preparation, so if you spend as much time getting the levels right with the first load of roadstone, the second base, which will be the finer sand, will go in a lot easier and it will look a lot better. And obviously the sand you can't have as thick, so you want to keep that sand base quite thin. So you want to get most of the prep work done with the roadstone. It's a bit harder to play around with, but it will really pay off in the long run. What I did is, yesterday I gave it a final rake, I wet it, and then I whacked it twice over everywhere. And then today I went around the edges, taking away some of the roadstone that wasn't being used, and I filled in any hollows that I could see from sort of moving around and looking at the base. And then now I'm going to wet it again and give it a final whack. Again, once the sand's down as well, we will be whacking it again and then going over with a roller. So I've probably gone over the top a little bit on the whacking, but I've put in quite a thick base, so better to be safe than sorry. So I'll show you around just what I'm up to now. I'll get it whacked, and then the next video will be spreading the sand and getting the final base on it. So at the front I've done what will be a bunker. Now we do have cats and dogs, so my plan is to do a nice bunker with the sand and get a plastic cover that I can put on when we're not using it. So that will be interesting to see how it turns out. The only thing that I am worried about is maybe some of these slopes are a bit too steep for the artificial grass, but we'll see if we can get around that, because it does add a nice effect. It finishes off nicely. As you can see, I've filled in some of the hollows on the base with some excess roadstone, and we've got some nice bends round. I think the actual putting green will probably be around 55 square meters. I will finish off the edges in a different type of artificial grass. So what we've done today is with this 04 sand, we filled in any hollows with a very fine level. We didn't go over the whole base, just like I say, any hollows, and also any areas where we had lots of stone on top, we gave them a quick skim. Then we whacked it again, well, we wet it in between, whack it again. Then we did the final layer, so we put a thin layer of this 04 sand over everywhere, and we gave that a very fine raking with the back side of a brush, and that gives us a very nice level finish. And then finally we wet it again. Because it was such a fine level, we didn't bother rolling it, because we've whacked this base quite a lot of times and the final base was so thin. We just wet it, which will compact it, and we are due some rain this afternoon, so that will do it even more. And then just before we come to put the weed membrane down, we will give it a fine, either go over it again with the back of the brush, or just with a float we'll level out any areas that aren't so smooth. And then finally I went and just installed some of the holes. Now I am still waiting for one, so I've put a bottle in just where that one's going. If you're not sure on the level to leave them sticking out, you can put them a little bit higher and then just gently tap them down to the right level, or again you can put them in lower, and then when you need to, when the grass is in, you can always slowly lift them out and put some more aggregate down. I would probably advise going a little bit higher and then just giving you that little knockdown when the grass is in place. So the next step really now is, like I say, when we've got the weed membrane to put down, we just make sure that it's a nice finish on top. Just go over everything with a float, get the weed membrane down, nail it in, and then we will get the fibre, which is like it's a bit like a roll of foam. We'll put that down. We're waiting for the artificial grass company to let us know sort of what they recommend the thickness, but we'll put that down opposite to the weed membrane, and then it's just the grass to go on top. So just to show you where we're at the moment, you've seen us put the membrane down, which is this white material. It's a special membrane that you put on before the grass, and it helps with, well, it doesn't crease up easily, so it stays nice and flat. Then we've put down the 10mm foam, which is this red material, which is actually quite nice to play around with. It's quite good, you can cut it and jigsaw it, and it's quite flexible, it goes with the curve, so that's quite nice to work with. The first time that even my dad's worked with that after 10 years of, well, over 10 years of laying artificial grass. And on top you can see we've got the putting green grass down. We've not jointed it, we've not glued it, and we've not nailed it yet, apart from well, we've had some wrinkles in it. There was quite a lot of wrinkles in it when we rolled it out, and it's settled. So what we did the other day is we put some nails in some of the bad wrinkles, and then the next day they seem to have flattened out, and it looked a lot better. So we've gone over most of the grass now and put some nails in before we actually come to glue it. So we're going to let it stand for a day or two before we do any gluing. We're still doing the cutting in anyway, so that's quite time consuming. And also we've started putting on grass around the edges, which I'll show you now as well. It's quite slow progress at the moment, but this is all the fiddly bits of the job, so it's understandable, and we don't need to rush it. It's again the first time, well, definitely the first time I've done this, but the first time my dad's done a putting green with this much detail in. So what you'll see is around here that we've started cutting bits of grass, the longer grass. They call this master over here. It's a nice quality grass for the outside. So these will be cut slightly at an angle, and then to follow sort of the grass round, so the lie of the grass runs into the putting green. So if I show you, again, we will sand this grass and it will get a good brush with an automatic brusher, and then the edge of the grass, like I say, it's not standing up nicely now, but if you see that, then when it's finished and it's all sanded, it will be a really nice contrast at the edges, and it will be cut all the way around. We do need to finish the bunker. I need to dig some more out on the bunker. But you can start to see sort of the outline and the shapes going in now. Still a long way to go, but just taking our time with it really. We've got one of these holes cut in that's going to be down the join line. It's unbelievable as well how much grass we've actually used. It doesn't, when we started it didn't look that big, and now you start to put the grass down and it is a very big area. Luckily this grass was well, it's been recycled from another job that had some water damage last year, and it was only down a couple of months, and the insurance, all the levels went, and the insurance paid out for them to have it redone. So the grass was cut, and my dad dropped it off a few months ago, knowing that we could use it for this job. So that was handy, very handy, because it's quite expensive. So the next jobs really are to carry on cutting around the edges of the putting green, and to start cutting in the outside as well, and then the shape will really start to come together. So the putting green's finished. Well, apart from the bunker behind me, but that's something I'll just do when I've got the right sand for it. But it's in use. I've had a bit of practice on it. It puts really well. You can play into it. Really happy with how it's turned out. My dad's done a lot of hard work on this. He's been coming up sort of half days when he can, and yeah, it's turned out really well. I'm sure it'll be getting plenty of use. So you've just seen the videos with the drone. Since then I've just been over with the petrol brush, which is a really good machine if you're doing things like this, or if you lay a lot of artificial grass and you like to put the sand on it, then it's really good for that. I've just been over and it looks really nice now. It's all sort of finished. There is probably a little bit too much sand on. I'll let it bed for another few days, and I might have to give it another brush over and may have to brush some off. But it really helps with cushioning the ball when you're playing into it, so we'll see. I'd like to leave as much on as possible. I'll give you a walk round, just show you a video of just like the final finish. And yeah, thanks for watching. I hope it's been helpful, and I hope to do more videos like this for my channel, and I will be doing another update in the next week or two of the garden. Everything's been taken off, growing really nicely, so I'll do a little update video on the garden shortly. Thanks for watching, everyone.